Hey guys, so I have a story time for you guys that popped up on my head the other day and it just would make for a great video. I'm gonna say should have, but I am not that type of American to just sue over stuff, but I very easily could have made a lot of money off of this incident and did not. So I'm gonna hope that this picks up and I can make money through it this way. Because in my poorest of moments, I think back and I think I should have freaking sued that hospital because it was a joke. This incident apparently led to retraining of all the nurses in the Middle Tennessee area and almost complete restaffing of this hospital. It's pretty crazy. I still can't believe it happened, and it was such a whirlwind when it happened. I couldn't believe it was happening type deal. And now that I'm like, gosh, 10 years out of it, I'm like, what? Like, let them do that to me now. I would have lost it. So all of this starts actually on my birthday. I'm pretty sure is the day that it happened. I used to work at this Halloween tent, which we have, I don't know if these are all over the US or just like in the Southeast, but there's this one Halloween store where there's like a big orange tent outside and it's just a pop-up of Halloween costumes and decorations in September and October. So I was there. It was either on my birthday or it was the day after my birthday, because my birthday is the day after Halloween. And it was probably the day after my birthday. Not that any of that matters, but I was helping take down the tent. So we were like clipping all the little zip ties and stuff off of the big old grid metal things that you hang clothes on. And I was not drinking water because I was young and an idiot and I never took like water with me anywhere. And was there for, I don't know, a few hours doing that. And got home, didn't feel good. I'm very prone to dehydration, which is another reason it was stupid I didn't really bring anything to drink. I think I brought like a bottle of water and I went through it right away. So I get home, take a shower because I'm just hot and whatever. And when I get out of the shower, I'm like laying on the floor because I'm so dizzy. And I try and drink a bunch of water, and I didn't realize at this point this about myself, but my dehydration proneness, I don't know if that's a word, has to do with once I get dehydrated, I can't just keep drinking water, which is much more common than people would think. Like, they don't understand, but your electrolyte balance can get even further off. I also have a tendency to drop in potassium of all things. I don't know why this happens to me, but it does. So I can't just drink a bunch of water and get rehydrated again. I tried to mix like some sort of electrolyte drink, I think, that I Googled, and it didn't work. It was like salt and water and like a little bit of salt, water, and sugar and stuff. Now I know that surprisingly milk is my solution. If I feel like I'm getting dehydrated, I drink milk, and it's got like, I guess, the potassium and stuff in it that I usually drop and then I'm fine. But anyhow, I'm dehydrated, right? I'm like, okay, I have to go to the freaking emergency room and get like a banana bag. I've done this many times before. So I eat something, get up enough energy to drive. I shouldn't have driven, but I did. I was home by myself. And I go to the emergency room and I tell them I'm dehydrated. I was working out in the heat all day, didn't drink enough water. I need like some bags of fluid. So they start hooking me up to stuff. They ask me for a urine sample and I give it to them because, again, like I said, usually my potassium and stuff is low. So I'm thinking they're gonna test for that type of stuff. I wanna preface that all they did was take a urine sample. This comes in handy later with what they tell me. They ask me for what type of medications am I on. They don't want to give me anything that could have an interaction with one of my medications. That's totally normal. I don't remember fully what I was on at the time. I don't think it was much, but I do remember that I had this one pill that was new to me. And I think it was a short-term pill that my doctor had given me for like a sinus infection because I have horrible sinuses. So it came in like a pill pack, like one of those foil-backed pill packs where you pop each pill out individually, and it was a prescription. So on the back of the pill packs, it said the name of the drug and the milligrams. I didn't know what the drug was. Like, I hadn't done any full research on the drug. I knew that it was an amphetamine, and I didn't know how to pronounce it. So I said, I have it with me. I'm taking this pill twice a day right now or something. The doctor gave it to me. So I pull it out of my purse and I give it to them. I'm like, here, this is what I'm taking. I take that twice a day. They're like, what is it? And they kept asking me about it. And I'm like, it's like, I don't know. It's a sinus pill. That's what they're giving me. It's some type of amphetamine, you know, whatever. And I think what happened at this point was these women who were asking me this were not nurses. I think they must have been like office staff, or like, because I remember one of the women rolled in with her computer like she was doing all the insurance and stuff, because here in America, they come in, I don't know how it works everywhere else in the world. I'm sure that there's some type of national insurance that you have to give, but they wheel in and they, you know, give me your driver's license, let me verify your address, let me verify what type of insurance you have, I'll get your billing started, whatever. So that woman was in there helping. She didn't know what the drug was. They all kept acting weird about, they didn't know what it was. They couldn't find it in the system. I don't know if they were spelling it wrong or something, but like I said, I gave it to them. Like, I didn't write it down or say it wrong. Like, it wasn't me. I just gave it to them and it was written on there. They kept leaving the room, coming back in, being like, we got to ask so-and-so about this. I don't know what this is. And then I think they gave up and didn't put it in the system. Red flag right there. I'm sorry. I'm like biting my nails on camera. So they don't end up putting it in the system. They start me on an IV bag. And I'm like, cool, just like leave me in here and let me just like sleep this off until the electrolytes kick in. I think they like turned off the lights for me. They were like, do you want the lights off? You know, you can sit and rest while this bag is doing its work. And I'm like, sure. So I just lay there and I'm like hanging out, whatever. And then they come back in. I don't know how long it was because I was really out of it. But they come back in. It was 3 nurses and flip the lights on. And one of them starts taking the IV out of my arm. One of them is just standing by, and one of them sits down on the bed to have a talk with me. And this, now, like, looking back, I'm like, this is no reason to take the IV out of my arm, first of all, because this is a hospital. And regardless of why you think I'm here, I am dehydrated, and they should have continued to treat me. If what they're thinking is true, there's many different routes they could have gone about, including maybe calling the police or something, or calling a, what do you call it? Like a caseworker, a social worker, something of that nature. They didn't do that. They stopped treating me and basically asked me to leave the hospital. And I'll tell you why. The woman who's out on the bed said, okay, we will no longer be treating you anymore. We're going to be taking the IV out, whatever. And I'm like, huh, what? Like, what are you talking about? And all this feels like such a dream to me because I was in such a state of shock that they were saying this to me. But she says, we ran your labs and you, what did she, I don't even remember how she said it, but she said something about me basically being on meth, which if you look at me, you can tell, which is what someone said later at the hospital. You can look at me and tell that I'm not on meth. I thought she was joking. And I was like, what? And she said, you're on meth, so we will not be treating you. Which is not true. Like, if you fucking OD, you're not gonna show up to the hospital and then be like, you did an illegal drug, sweetheart, good luck. Like, they don't just kick you out. They still treat you. They'll just then contact the necessary authorities if they feel like an illegal something happened. You know, like if for some reason they need to contact someone. They just pulled the freaking IV out of my arm, basically, and told me they weren't treating me anymore. I said, what are you talking about? I'm on meth. I'm not on meth. And she said to me, the amount of meth that is in your blood right now, they didn't take my blood. They took a urine sample. The amount of meth that is in your blood right now. And that's another thing. How do you measure the amount of meth and get, like, you have a scale in your lab that tells you this. The amount of meth that is in your blood right now, you have to have been doing it for a year, or you're living next to someone who has been cooking it for a year. That's how much meth you have in your system. And I'm like, I have all my freaking teeth. I don't have any, you know, you get like facial scars and stuff like that, I guess. I don't know. But they told me that I was on meth and that they were not treating me and that I needed to leave the premises. And I was still dehydrated and they made me leave. So then I'm like panicked because I'm like, do I live next door to somebody who cooks meth? Like, oh my God, is this really in my system? Because I'm 23 years old and I don't know what's going on. And I'm in shock. And I know that I don't do meth. Like, I've never done anything like that. So I leave in absolute tears. I call my boyfriend, now my husband, who I lived with at the time. And we lived in an apartment next to his dad. And he's like, call my dad and tell him what happened. So I call his dad. I'm in tears. I tell him what happened. And his dad's like, get here now. I'm taking you back to that hospital. We're going back. Because his dad knows damn well I don't do drugs. So we get back to the hospital. And my father-in-law is like, I don't know, 6'5" or something like that. Used to be, I think at the time he was still a detective. Big guy. Big intimidating guy. We show up and he is pissed and he starts telling people, he's like, they just kicked her out. They stopped treating her. Like, he had to ask me that. He said, did they stop treating you? And I said, yeah, they pulled the IV out of my arm. My bag wasn't even halfway done. So he goes in, he's like, they stopped treating her. I want to speak to a manager and I want her treated for her dehydration. She's still like not okay. And when I'm telling him everything that happened, what I think my father-in-law figured out and we started to piece together in the room was that I gave them this drug that was an amphetamine. And in my urine test, amphetamines came up. And someone either didn't know that there's a difference between them or what. They just saw it pop up and they were like, methamphetamine. And they came in and stopped treating me. Which again, still wouldn't be what they would do. So we go back in and there's like and I don't even know how to describe it, an aura around the room of like, oh shit, she's back. Because I think what happened is after I left, word got out what just happened. And those nurses suddenly disappeared. Like, couldn't be found anywhere. Everybody looked terrified. They didn't look like, oh God, she's back. They looked like, oh fuck, like this is not gonna be good. I think they went and told someone, we just got rid of that patient. And someone went, wait, what? You got rid of what do you mean you got rid of her? Well, she was on meth. Well, you don't just kick a patient out for, what are you talking about? I think that's what happened. Because they were very clearly aware when we got back what the fuck was going on. And that they were all about to be like in big, deep shit. So they check me into a room. And at this point, I think it's like an RN that's handling me. And is being very nice, very helpful, very like over the top, polite, like, can I get you guys anything? Can I get you like a snack? Let me get you some ginger ale and some crackers while you're laying here and I'll get you hooked up. And this office administrator comes in and I think it was this guy and he sat and talked to us and he was like, what happened? And we told him the whole story of everything and I pulled out the drug again. I said, all I can think is that I told them I was on this medication. And I handed it to the guy. And the guy wasn't even a medical staff. Like, he wasn't a doctor. And he reads it. He goes, this is an amphetamine. I said, yes. And he goes, and they said you were on methamphetamine. I said, yes. And he said, I'm so sorry. Like, he was really apologetic, really nice. He was like, this should have never happened to you. We should have never stopped treating you. I can't believe this happened. Do you know who it was? Did you catch a name? And I'm like, honestly, I didn't because I was so out of it. But it has to be in my chart who treated me. He's like, you're right, it will be in there. I said, I know one of the women had like long hair and it was kind of wavy. It wasn't curly, but it was like thick waves. And I don't remember I said, I think there was a younger Hispanic woman and I can't remember what the third woman looked like. And I explained, I think one of the women wasn't even a nurse that was trying to put the drug in the system. I think they gave up and didn't even put it in the chart. He's like, you're right, I didn't even see any medications under your chart. Basically that was it. He just kept apologizing. He kept saying, is there anything else I can do for y'all? My father-in-law was just pissed the whole time and just kept saying, this is ridiculous that this happened. And I'm very like, it's fine. It was a mistake. You're here rectifying it. I'm good. Whatever. He's like, we're going to have someone contact you to apologize again. And to like, we're going to look into this whole ordeal. Like, we are so sorry. So they finished treating me. We leave. The whole office staff is just watching me leave. Like, they're all aware that I'm still there. They're like, everybody's suddenly doing their checks and balances like to a T because they all know someone's about to get fucking busted and in trouble. So I guess a few days pass and I get a call from a woman and she's like, higher up over this chain of hospitals, I think it was, or maybe this specific hospital, but much higher up. She calls, gives me the longest. Let me start by saying, I am so sorry you had such a terrible experience. I cannot believe what happened to you. I cannot imagine how that must have made you feel in our facility. Like, she handled it very well. She was very well spoken with her apology, basically. Would it be okay if you walked me through your experience again? I have here the statement that you gave to the office administrator. I want to make sure that I'm not missing any pieces in what they did to you, basically, and that I can handle it accordingly. I want to make sure that I have all the knowledge. So I tell her everything all over again. Very nice, very friendly. She says, we think that we have pinpointed who did this, and let me tell you, there's going to be a complete, I can't remember the wording that she used, but basically we're going to fire a bunch of people and rehire some people. I think she even admitted to me, we've been having some issues with our staff. I'm going to tell you that because you've clearly experienced it. I'm not going to sit and sugarcoat and act like our hospital is amazing, because clearly you went through something terrible. And we've been having issues with a few members of our staff. We're going to be reworking the whole staff. So I don't want you to ever feel like you can't come back. She said not to mention, excuse you, I'm trying to talk. She said not to mention what you've been through is definitely going to be flagged in your chart. So if you ever come back, people are probably going to be treating you pretty well, because this is a huge deal. And I was like, well, that's fine, I don't care. So, so then she's super nice, tells me they're going to be reworking everything, whatever. Basically, she's covering their ass so that she's covering their ass, and she's probably feeling me out to see if I'm going to be suing them. She asked if I was, she didn't ask this because I don't think she can ask this, but she kind of was like, do you plan on doing anything further? Are there any other complaints you would like to file? You know, stuff like that. And I was like, no, I mean, you guys know everything. Like, I appreciate you following up and talking to me about it, whatever. She followed up with me again a few weeks later and let me know that they have now hired like a lot of new staff and gotten rid of like half of their old staff. And again, don't ever feel like you can't come back to our facility. We are so sorry. I mean, she handled it like perfectly, in my opinion. The whole hospital did. But they were terrified they were going to get sued, because I really could have nailed them, and I didn't, and I don't regret not doing it, because I mean, I didn't die, you know, like I was dehydrated. I could have been a much more serious patient, and that could have been a life-threatening issue. That's the scary part. But they handled it well in that they got rid of those nurses, supposedly. I have been back to that hospital many times, and they have been much better. So I do feel good about that. I went in for like something that wasn't life-threatening again, like to sort of feel out how things were going, and I got treated like a queen. So I was like, okay, good. There's probably something in my file that says don't screw with this patient. She could still sue us. But then all these years later, my father-in-law is at a hospital for something. This is just a few months ago, and this happened probably 10 years ago now. But my father-in-law is at a hospital, and he's talking to this nurse that he knows or something, and he's telling her, something gets brought up, and he's telling her this story, like just an anecdote, like, oh yeah, because he's at a separate hospital. Oh yeah, we went to this one hospital one time, my daughter-in-law, they said this about her, and blah, 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 and she said, according to him, she was like, that was you? And he said, what do you mean that was me? And she said, oh my God, that was a huge deal. She said all the nurses in like the Middle Tennessee area or something like that had to be completely retrained. We had to go through all kinds of retraining on how to handle situations like that, and how you don't just go in and accusing a patient, I guess, whatever. But she was like, it was a huge deal. Like everybody got put on lockdown with like rules and regulations because of that incident. Like it became I guess a famous incident among nurses in our area. So it was pretty crazy. Yeah, I've just been like, that story popped into my head the other day, and I was like, that would make a good video. I didn't sue them, so I didn't get any money off of it. And now that my channel's monetized, maybe I can make a little bit of money off the funny story of it. So whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed this. someone needs a nap, so I'm gonna go help with that. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. It's laughable to me now because it's so far in the past, and again, it wasn't a life-threatening issue for me, thankfully. So I can at least be like, holy crap, I can't believe that happened. If you guys did like this, please hit the thumbs up button below. If you have any suggestions for videos, true crime or otherwise, please leave those in the comments below. If you would like to see more, please hit the subscribe button as I upload new videos every Wednesday. And other than that, I will see you guys next week. Bye.